It is high.
Voicemails.
It is far.
Voicemails.
It is God.
Talkin' Yanks voicemail show with BBD and Joez.
Hello and welcome to the Talkin' Yanks voicemail show. I am BBD, joined today not by Joez McFly. I'm joined by Dan Rourke, Yanks Ave, John Boy Media, everyone in the world's favorite person. Dan, how are you?
Stop it, Beeves. Dude, I'm doing good. First things first, that's a badass intro song. And it might even surpass the actual Talkin' Yanks pregame song or intro song. But yo, good to be back. We were just saying to you before, it kind of feels like the old Talkin' Yanks pregame days. So
Yeah,
I'm pumped, dude. I'm ready to yap about the Yanks and hear some voicemails.
Yeah, and for the people at home, I think playoffs, some pregame shows will I think be back. Jimmy and Jake, I think, will be excited for those because we always bring those back for the playoffs. Exciting stuff. I don't necessarily know when the next episode of this program is going to be. We'd love to do something during the playoffs. At minimum, there'll be off season is a perfect avenue for some voicemail type content. So stay tuned. Maybe harass Jimmy on Twitter if you want it to keep going. And in those future episodes, you can call 908-845-5792 to leave a voicemail. Before we go to the first one, the biggest news around the Yankees that I want to hit before we dive into the calls for a little bit is Mark Leiter going on the paternity list. No, that did happen. It did happen. Congrats. I don't know if this is about to be a Mark Leiter the third, but maybe we'll find out in short order. Nestor Cortes is the actual news out at minimum through the DS, or at minimum is ineligible for the start of the DS. Left elbow flexor strain, I think is what they labeled it.
Shut down 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
You want me to just give my take on it?
I'd love to hear your thoughts from when that came out yesterday. He's getting the MRI to the placement on the IL and all of that.
Yeah, so first things first, I'll say it's not the end of the world, which the reason I mention that is because I always feel like the last 2 weeks before the playoffs, there's some sort of catastrophic injury. And with that said, if this is it, I honestly will take it. If this is the only injury we have going into the playoffs,
Sure,
all things considered, I can almost look at that as a W. But, and I would not have felt this way about a month ago, but with the way he's pitching lately and the fact of, Stroman's not getting a playoff start.
not right now.
Nestor probably wasn't headed that way either. I mean, if they were to go with a four-man staff in the ALDS, you're probably looking at Culver, Don, Heel, Clark. But when talking about a starting pitcher you want to translate to the bullpen, I think everybody's in agreement. You feel way better about Nestor Cortes, and not even just from standpoint of he's a lefty, but also strikeout-wise, not exactly a strikeout pitcher, but he does rack up way more Ks than Marcus Stroman, which when it comes to him in the bullpen, I don't feel good about. So not the end of the world. The rotation is fine, but the bullpen definitely takes a hit, and that's an L. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's an interesting position. I'm assuming he's going to be just out for the playoff run, and this ends the season. I'm ready to be pleasantly surprised if the deep run happens and he's there. Just elbow stuff pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
When do we get this combination of words and IL placement, and it actually is a really, really quick return? I just can't bank on anything. He had a 1.58 ERA in his last 40 innings. He did, of the starters who are candidates to be moved to the bullpens, feel like he had the best chance to be like a true weapon for them. Just based on like who he's been as a pitcher in his career and being so flexible and really will do anything you need and effective. And especially this year, he has, by nature being a lefty, he has some fairly extreme left-right splits, at least compared to some previous years of him. So you really could have had ways to drag and drop him as either a multi-inning option or as find a lefty lane option, because they don't, as much as we've loved Tim Hill, and you can't deny that he's just kind of been good for these Yankees. I think Nestor would have been above him on the lefty bullpen depth chart.
Forget Tim Hill, Tim Aza.
Tim Aza's been good,
no doubt
even in
you'd
a
rather
lower
go with,
leverage role. It gets him.
But you'd rather go with Nestor over him,
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
I will say I want to shout out Nestor because he's had a funky year, man. Like between being thrust into the opening day starter role, some early slack, rightfully so for how he was pitching on the road, which is very much evened out. It's almost kind of flipped. He's pitched a lot better actually on the road compared to home, but he was just pitching like crazy as of late in general. But anyways, the season was good. 31 starts of a sub-4 ERA.
It's a good
led the
season.
team in innings, and I wouldn't say he was underappreciated this year, but I feel like for a good portion of it until the last month, he kind of was. Nestor Cortes had a good season, not 2022, like not 2.5 ERA, but if you were to tell the Yankees ahead of time going into 2024, you're going to get 31 starts of a 3.7 ERA he had this year, would have signed up for that in a heartbeat. So
coming off last year, we'd have signed up for this no hesitation.
100%. Just the starts in itself, 31 starts in 170 something innings. So shout out Nestor. Maybe comes back for the CS, but real quick on the topic of the rotation, they could also go with a 3-man staff for the DS with the way it's scheduled.
Yeah,
because it's day
DS
on, day
you don't
off.
need a fourth.
Yeah, they could if they wanted to, but if you're going that route, I love Luis Heel, but I would probably go Cole, Rodon, Clark.
Yeah,
if they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm really interested how they'll make that decision, how they'll be used, because they, specifically the Rodon Heel or the Clark and Heel angle. They're two of the better pitchers on the team. Full stop. Like
right
wherever exactly you rank them, you shouldn't go a series without using one of them.
Definitely.
And Clark, I imagine, is more suited for the bullpen right now, at least as far as like what he's done before.
Think?
I haven't done it with Heel.
Right. And the rookie thing, the idea of first inning possibly getting out of control. Here's where I'm at with Heel, and then we can move on if you want. But down for a playoff start 100%. And once he gets rolling, he's cruising. You love it. But the first sign of trouble, and by that I mean like couple walks in the first, maybe hit by pitch, just looking wild. I'm not saying you pull him right there, but you better have somebody loose. And that, if it is Clark in the bullpen, you get him up pretty much ASAP because you can't let it. Kind of how Joe Girardi was Severino in the wild card game with Chad Green.
Any young pitcher in their first playoff start, it feels like no matter who they are, that it can get away from you, and you want to be ready to pull the plug quick. And I believe in Luis Heel, but he's not any different from any other young pitcher I've seen, where it's like, all right, that first playoff start's going to just be a different atmosphere than you've experienced.
Right.
You need to be ready for anything there. And Clark is great insurance. I suppose Stroman's spot on the roster is more locked in, and as a guy who at least will be able to throw a lot of innings. We'll see what role we're comfortable using him in by that point. But if yesterday was his last regular season appearance, which I think it is,
probably,
it's hard to imagine we're going to be feeling like awesome about that when the playoffs come.
Well, you mentioned the role, and that's a question I think about every night going to sleep, because Stroman is going to be on the playoff roster, it seems.
Yeah.
But what is he going to
do?
And
he should be, but
dude, and when I have this conversation, I'll give him the same thing I kind of said about Nestor, where it's, if you were to tell the Yankees, I think that you're going to get, not that it was perfect, but pretty much a full season Marcus Stroman, 30 starts, 29, 30 starts, whatever it was, a 4 ERA for the most part, kept you in every game. I look at Marcus Stroman as a good chance to give you 5 innings, 2 runs. It may not be the prettiest. He may walk some guys, and I know the whip is extremely high, like the 3rd highest, I think, in baseball this year, but he also excels as runners in scoring position for obvious reasons with the ground balls and whatnot. But in the bullpen, I just don't see how it translates. He's not a strikeout guy.
No.
I guess if you were to be in a spot and you want a ground ball, but in that case, people are going to hate me for this, but would rather go to Clay Holmes. And then out of long relief, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I'd take Cody Petit over Stroman right now out of the bullpen. So I'm not too thrilled about what Stroman's role is going to be in October. And that has nothing to do with, like, his season. I think Marcus Stroman's season was actually a success.
Yeah, he was overall, like, this was fine. I know this last start messes up some numbers even more, but like even 2 weeks ago, like I thought there was a chance he might be the 4th starter anyway, like whenever that day comes, just because I thought Clark and Nestor can be like weapons out of the pen. Heel, I think so too. I feel like they're gonna just start him and
Heel out of the pen. I had the same concern as I do with the start, which is not that much except for the first inning. Like if Luis Heel comes in and strikes at the first bat, or I shouldn't say the first batter because last time he did that and then walked the next 2, but
his first
looks good
clean,
early.
I'm like all in.
Oh my God, hell yeah! Again, when he locks in, he's locked in. It's just whether it's the first inning of a start or coming in relief. I mean, the way his stuff is, you would like to imagine him like big jam, maybe bases loaded, 1 out. He could get 2 punch outs, but it also could lead to him walking in 2 runs. So
Yeah,
we'll see. I will say one more thing on the rotation. I know I'm yapping like crazy. You got to feel good at least about, and this is big in the playoffs, obviously. I trust the temperament of every starter in the rotation, with the caveat of obviously Heel being a rookie, but that is nothing against him personally. That's just how rookies work. But when it comes to Marcus Stroman, he ain't getting a playoff start. But if, knock on wood, God forbid, some more should happen where he had to, I do trust him.
I don't think that's going to be like a moment that's too big for him.
Right. It's like if he gets beat, which would suck. But I don't see any implosions happening.
Yeah, it's something to monitor over this next week, 10 days as we start trying to figure out what this DS roster is going to be, because they'll have Cole, Rodon, Heel, and Clark for sure, all 4 on the roster. Weaver, Canely, Cousins, who it sounds like will be ready, Clay, and Hill are like your kind of locks for the bullpen. Then at least 2 more pitcher spots, maybe a third, depending on what the Yankees want to do. Which is kind of between Mark Leiter, Stroman, Poteet. I forgot Hamilton in there. But
Hamilton.
But it's 2 more spots. I believe up to 2 more spots with Hamilton in there.
Right, but that's also Stroman, assuming they do go with a 4-man bench, right? I think there's a possibility they can go with 5.
I think it definitely can.
Because, bro, and this is not what it should happen, but let's just talk about this really quick. In what world should the Yankees carry all 3 of Grisham, Verdugo, and Jasson on the roster? And what it really should be is you carry Jasson and Grisham, because I'll tell you this, if you're going to start somebody not Jasson in left field, I'd rather be Grisham than Verdugo. Not really a hot take, but that's a thing that could possibly happen where they carry all 3 of them, and then
the path to Grisham being on the team is a lot
defense, and
it feels a lot more like I would lean that way over one more arm, especially if Stroman's going to be on the team and you can give him the slop innings.
Right. At least with the DS.
Yeah. So Clay, Weaver, Canely, Hamilton, Hill, Cousins, those 6 are firmly in. There's at least 1, maybe 2 more spots. If you're not taking one of those outfielders, one more spot would be Stroman, Poteet, Meza. Or kind of the 3 candidates there, and I guess Leiter.
Yeah.
And if they leave one of those outfielders off, then it's 2 of those.
Right. And real quick on the Yankees bullpen, I've said this a lot on my streams, but a common thing has been said, and for the most part of the season, it was true, especially halfway through. The Yankees bullpen is ass, and it's going to cost them a lot of games, something to worry about in October. Not only am I kind of like off that train, I'm so far on the opposite. I feel very good about the Yankees bullpen. And first things first being the fact of that 4 you mentioned, and it doesn't include Clay Holmes, the 4 high leverage guys you have in Weaver, Canely, Hamilton, and Jake Cousins, that is up there with every single team that you're going to face in the postseason outside of Cleveland, who has like one of the best bullpens of all time right now, as an effective last 4 guys to handle the high leverage innings. And that's also why I am so for Clay being on the roster, because there's no world why he should get high leverage innings. So if Clay's pitching, it should be in the 6th, because you got innings 7 through 9 covered with, in my opinion, 4 of the better relievers going right now in baseball. I mean, Hamilton has looked terrific outside that one game where he gave up the homer to Cowser. I thought he's looked really good. Canely all year is low-key having the best year of his career. Cousins, we know the deal, and Weaver's been spectacular out of the closer role. So, I mean, I feel good about the Yankees bullpen. I know I'm the freaking shill here, and it takes not much for me to get optimistic, but I feel good about the pen.
Obviously, would I love the Tanner Scott we could have gotten at the playoffs in there, or at the deadline in there? Of course. But
Cashman's just lucky. Weaver's a fucking dog.
Yeah,
he should be thanking his lucky stars that Weaver's a dog.
Weaver is a dog.
Dude, I tweeted the other day. Obviously, the 0 in 10 innings. Dog had. I mean, this may have been changed because I don't know if he's pitched since then. 22 Ks in 10 innings.
He's a nut job, dude.
Insane.
His in zone whiff rate. I'll see if I can find the stat again, but it was a crazy high number on pitches in the zone that are generating whiffs, and he's throwing such a high percentage of balls that he throws at all in the zone. Just an absolute dog.
And side note, with obviously Clay being a free agent at year's end, and not many people probably want to have him retain as Yankee closer anyways, they kind of solved that situation too for next year. I mean, if Weaver finishes up strong, he's got the what is it? An option for next year, team option, which they obviously will pick up. It's an amazing contract. He just slots right back in at closer for next year. So you kind of, assuming this ends well with Weaver,
you
kind of
have
figured out too.
at least one more high leverage guy there. Obviously, relievers, volatile,
Definitely
all of that. But that's a box checked for next season.
The vibe of closer by committee is the way to go. And I mean vibe. Like if somebody's rolling like board, Weaver's doing this thing right now. He's like the closer. But there should never be that set in stone to where like a guy's labeling himself as the closer, unless you're, like Mo or a top flight type guy.
Yeah. They're I've seen bullpens come together come the postseason. It happens. Obviously for every one Atlanta Braves team that figures it out, or last year's Rangers that figure it out.
Right.
There's 3 teams that got bounced early because they just don't have a good bullpen. But the Yankees, the guys are in a good spot throwing right now. Clay, people's opinions are what they are. I'm not as all the way out on him as Twitter might lead you to believe the fan base is, but they have at least those 4 that
right. 100%. And
we can clarify my for now.
Yes, and I can clarify my opinion on Clay because I'm not sure how many people are familiar with how I feel about this. Listen, I defended Clay for a long time, even earlier on this year for a good portion of the season. I'll stand by the fact of at least his first 6 or 7 blown saves were totally BS, and I would love to go through anybody that disputes that, maybe outside of one. And obviously, he gets bailed out here and there. Opening day certainly got bailed out. But for the most part, early on, his saves were errors, getting dinked and dunked, a lot of BS.
The blown save stats so weird. And
and obviously, it's a funky stat still because you can get a blown save in the 7th because back in the day you get it 3 innings, whatever. But lately, though, Clay Holmes has legitimately been getting his ass kicked. So it made total sense for them to get him out of the closer spot. But for the standpoint of one, his stuff is still nasty. I look at it as, I'm not a pitching coach, but I trust Matt Blake to make the slight mechanical change to get his command right. Once that's working, do the stuff again. Still nasty. I trust it. Yeah. And who are you really going over Clay with? I mean, many Clay hitters as there are out there, I feel like for the most part, Yankee fans rather have him over Mark Leiter, which is probably what it would ultimately come down to if you want to put him on the roster. And the Yankees definitely are putting him on the roster. I'm just saying if they weren't going to, who would you want to replace him with? Yeah.
I get the point that gets made of I don't want him on the roster so they don't just feel like they have to use him in a high leverage spot. I get why people feel that way, but what's the avenue for him not getting onto the team that you're actually going to feel good about? Because that's Mark Leiter getting a spot then for sure. That's Efros. You're getting Stroman and Poteet on there.
Efros too. Which those guys all have a shot. Besides, I don't think Efros, unless maybe Leiter isn't going to be.
Efros, I think, is on the outs right now, but
I think so too. And all this, there's just no. Again, I don't think there's somebody you would put over Clay. And
no.
Just to wrap up where I feel about that, I'm totally on the board with Clay Holmes as a closer. Fair. Don't give up on him as a reliever just yet.
If he's just one of your setup men, I've always been fine with that. Even as high as I've been on Clay and been can close. I think he's a very good setup man that can close for you any given day at his best. And obviously the last month he is, like you said, he's gotten his ass kicked and needs to figure that out in the next week or so here. But I think it's time we go to the callers.
Yeah, what's the show about again? It's a voicemail app. That's right. Yo, what up, Alex?
How's it going, Dan?
What's up, man? Yo, it's nice having a producer box, isn't it? Must be nice.
I feel like a celeb. But I was going to say, before we get into the playoffs, there's still another matter that needs to be taken care of, and that's what our first caller wants you guys to give your thoughts on.
What's up, Pop? It's Ryan from Saskatchewan in Canada. Question for you guys. How bad do you want to beat Baltimore? Show me energy of how bad you want to win the division and have home field advantage for the AL. Because I noticed that the team with the best record in the league, AL and AL, doesn't win the World Series. I could curse that, I'm just saying, but I really want to win the AL.
I assume he means number 1 seed in the.
Yeah, I think
he wants to win AL, number 1 seed.
Division and 1 seed, I think, is what he was asking about.
I would love both of those things.
Yeah, and I call me a jinx in a few days if God forbid this happens. The division is fine. Got to take care of business tonight, though, and just get it over with. The number 1 seed, absolutely important. Now, seeding-wise, we are there's a strong possibility we play Baltimore in DS because they're right now set up to face Detroit in the wild card series, which if we do maintain the 1 seed, we're pretty damn close with Cleveland. I think like a half game lead maybe. But we'd have Baltimore in the DS if they advance. And I'll tell you, 2 days ago on the morning going into the Orioles series was really not concerned about that at all. I would welcome it because I think roster to roster, the Yankees are better than Baltimore, in part because the guys have been slumping lately. Their guys have been slumping. And some injuries have bitten them, but that's baseball. That's how shit goes.
Mm-hmm.
I think roster to roster, Yankees are better than Baltimore right now. But clearly, and this is ass, the O's own the Yankees this year. They just do.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's like a mental thing, which is kind of really all it is, me as a fan, and obviously can't get inside the clubhouse's head or nothing, but like, you've got to be thinking about it a little bit going into a series that, for the most part, even when they were at the worst, which was going into the series, remember how awful they were playing, they seem to have your number.
Yeah,
And
they
better win tonight, by the way.
Like how many of these games that they've lost to the Orioles are like either really badly timed, like these two, or it's just like we would have liked to just win one of these and be done with it. You go to the Verdugo Volpe missing 99% balls day.
Mm-hmm.
The
That would've been
Judge
sweet.
hit by pitch day. The all of that. The several of unfortunately a long list of worst losses of the year candidates are against these Orioles, and if they don't finish it off tonight, and you get lined up against them in the DS, assuming that's how it plays out, like how's Baltimore not supposed to feel really good about that opportunity if they came into this series knowing they lose any of these games against the Yankees right in front of them? Division's over, Yanks get to celebrate in their faces and all that. And if they were to finish the sweep tonight and they're the only team that got the champagne celebration in this series and they prevented the Yankees from being able to clinch right in front of them and they made a statement doing it in their stadium, all of that, like they're not going to be worried about the home field advantage that the Yankees have.
Yeah, which do they even have? I mean, they do, but they aren't playing like it.
They aren't playing
this
like
year.
it. They've been the best road team in baseball.
Right,
Best road
it's
team
so
in
frustrating,
baseball
and
this
it's also, they're awful against teams below 500, but they ball out against teams that are above. So
Yeah, not-
whatever. Which in a
not
way you
this
could almost
team.
look at it like, all right, I can trust them at home. I would actually kind of take playing better on the road. And same thing with how frustrating it is against teams that are bad. It's not a bad thing they play up to the competition, but certainly not against Baltimore. And I'll tell you, you win tonight, that's big, and it would help. I almost feel like it's kind of guaranteed for me that I have the concern that Baltimore owns us going into a possible ALDS. And it doesn't mean we're going to lose. It just means my stress levels are going to be higher going to that potential series than they
that
were
matchup's
just a couple days
scary
ago.
right now. Even if it's like even scarier than if it were to be the Tigers, who have been resurgent 2 days ago. I would have said they're the team I kind of just don't want to face among them. Kansas City, Orioles, Twins, the teams that
I'll
are
take the
alive,
Tigers over the
right now,
Orioles.
for sure.
Yeah, for everything we just said. But also, this doesn't matter as much, but just getting into like the minds of the clubhouse. I don't know. What's Baltimore trying to do this year? Win the World Series. They kind of have to. I mean, they're basically in the 2018 form of the New York Yankees with the baby bombers. Like their core is active now. This is not the early running of this. They are in their window. They got to win the World Series. Whereas Detroit, I'm not saying like you settle for nothing, and I don't even know how much this actually has an effect
It's
on the
house
field.
money right now.
But like if they exactly. Like if Detroit loses, and let's be honest, like they're hot as shit, but like we should not lose to their roster compared to ours.
No.
If Detroit loses, like they're going to celebrate that season because it was great.
Getting
It was
into the
not
dance
expected.
at all is
Right.
the win.
So I guess to pull out the old, they have more to play for. That scares me too with Baltimore. So definitely would take Detroit. Although one thing I'll say on that, PTSD, bro. First year watching the Yankees, my first full season was 2011. So the 2011, 2012 Detroit Tigers, man, scarred me for life. So I might have a little bit of PTSD regarding that, but
Yeah,
that's
were a
definitely the
torture
matchup you want.
Yeah, I would still rather them than the Orioles. I think right now it would be O's Royals playing for the right to face the Yankees if the season ended today. This
The
second,
Royals have been awful.
they've been sputtering and they miss Vinny and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want this division just to be done, and this weekend can be about lining guys up and getting people the work they need and like get Judge a day off and let Dominguez like play all 3 games and see what happens, and maybe he was just like suddenly a switch flips and he looks really comfortable fielding fly balls and all of that.
Which for that reason, Jasson should be playing every single day. And with Judge, I'm with you. The logic makes sense. 60 is attainable now.
That's true. It's back on the menu, especially if he got one tonight in the win.
Oh man,
and he can get 60 off ski. Oh, okay.
See my what I'm calling for next year, and it's not even a crazy prediction. Greatest season of all time. He's going to surpass Bonds' 2004 WAR of 12.4, as well as hitting 70 homers. But he doesn't even need to do that. He can get to 12.5. He probably was going to be there this year, if not for the April or even just those 2 weeks he took off in the beginning of September. He may have cleared that 12.5 WAR, which happened the greatest season by WAR of all time. Just saying.
He
not this year, but next year. It's pretty good.
I wonder if he was getting to play right field where he's like, at all the metrics tick up and all of that. I wonder if how much that would help him. Because like obviously he plays a perfectly fine center field, but would it help him rack up WAR?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear it.
Well, no, and this I feel pretty firm about, because a lot of people have ran with Judge being technically a negative defender. I think it's nothing crazy, but I think in center field he's like -3 outs above average maybe, or something. It's whatever. We know he's fine in center field.
More or less a below average by the metric center fielder. I trust him out there and watch him every day.
Yeah, and I have a point to get to.
I do not think it's a problem.
I bring up sprint speed as well. His sprint speed ranks at 32, right around 32 on Baseball Savant. I don't doubt those numbers at all. They're accurate. Aaron Judge is running to a 32 sprint speed percentile. The outs of average, sure. But what they don't understand is that it's nothing to do with regression. That is simply, I don't mean to rhyme here like Shakespeare, but preservation. Yeah. He is sustaining his body. And the second, and this is a prediction that I feel quite confident about, and the haters that are bringing all this information to light are going to be quite shocked when all of a sudden playoff starts and, he goes to being back to an above league average center fielder and his sprint speed jumps up by, 20 sprint percentiles. That's what I expect to happen. That's honestly what I expect to happen because he's preserving his body. It's not like he's regressed athletically.
His 2022 defensive StatCast metrics, it looks a lot better. I know there was more right field time in some of this, but the range factor's way up when the sprint speed is up to like 50%. And I can buy into the narrative that those numbers were better because he's trying to prove he can do the center field thing. And this year he's proven that, and they're kind of locked into that anyway. So sure, he's preserving don't get hurt. He's gotten hurt playing the outfield at least twice on just like weird stuff that happens, running into the wall, diving in the rib and
breaking the rib. Yeah, and you can see the difference between like that play he made in 2019 that broke the rib. And that was right before the playoffs. You could take that exact same play that has happened probably many times this year in terms of where it's going to land, exit velocity to center field. He could make those plays, but he knows it's not smart to. And you could go back and find a million replays of him not risking his body as he shouldn't because of what happened last year and obviously, the broken ribs. So I think it's smart. And not that anybody's really complaining about it anyways. Just a little to keep in mind, I guess.
But I wonder, and Grab, you can step in if there's a call that we can play that pertains to this. But if he were to pivot to a corner again full time, would that tick up the WAR numbers? And in general, assuming Soto's back, what are they going to do in the outfield, like for the years moving forward? If you're projecting Soto's here for 15 more years, Judge has 7 more years on his deal. You'd like to think Dominguez is a part of the plans for the next 6 years. All of that. I just am curious what they will do. Maybe one more year of Judge center field every day, but at some point he's going to have to go back to the corner. I don't know.
I think
if that's him playing left, is that getting a lot more DH days, or maybe they just outlast until Stanton's contract's done and he and Soto can split some right field DH and
and also Stanton's been great this year. I can't imagine it's going to be 770 OPS production through the final year. So maybe even before the contract gets over, Judge could slide as the full-time DH then. Yeah. But
or like first of all, Jasson more often still.
Right. Jason's just going to have to learn how to catch a fly ball at some point. So with that being the case, I still got to bank on him as an outfielder. And at least when it comes to Yankee Stadium, I mean, left center almost might as well be center field, if not
it's
worse
with
field, Death Valley. Basically. It basically is. So whether they're talking, all right, you want to put Judge in left instead of center, I mean, almost just as much ground to cover. talking about Jasson and his skills, where do you feel more comfortable, left or center? Which he is a natural center fielder. But again, nobody could have. And this is what like Jimmy's tweet last night when people, I guess, were going at him about like, well, this is what you called for. We knew Jasson's defense was bad. That's not like what bad defense means to me. When I hear bad defense or read like bad metrics or something, to me that means like his range isn't great. He's not going to make any spectacular plays. And sure, over time with, again, the range not being great, runs may score over time, blah, blah, blah. I assume you're going to be able to catch a fly ball, though.
Yeah.
Jasson's got to learn how to catch a freaking fly ball. So we got to get that ironed out.
Those balls need to be caught. the ones
Yes.
he's dropped the last week.
Now, can we play a really quick game of if this were Dan Rourke's MLB The Show franchise, what I would do this postseason?
I'm begging
as
for
as an alternative to, and they're never going to do this, so don't get your hopes up. But my biggest fear after last night was Verdugo was going to start game one of the ALDS and play majority in the playoffs, which I think has a very good chance of happening. The alternative solution that I would do, because you're already at the playoffs, ball guards should be off for the most part, and he can catch a fly ball. Put Stanton in the outfield, DH Jasson. Stanton right, make Soto play left a little bit. That's actually the only thing that why I think it definitely won't happen is because Soto has to play right and you wouldn't have put Stanton in left. But if Soto was capable of playing left, I might actually like come forward with that take as an actual possibility. But
yeah, they've been so adamant on no Soto in big corners that like, all right, I guess that's
and no
just
Stanton
not
in the
gonna
field.
happen.
But on the
and
notion of no Stanton in the field, the reason you do that is to keep him healthy for the playoffs.
We're here.
If you're at the playoff, yeah. So I mean, like at that point, you kind
Armstrong's
of go.
there. I'm
Yeah.
again, if it were MLB The Show, I'm in on the plan.
Right, that's why I had to present it that way.
The other side or part of the Dominguez stuff as his defense is coming into question. I wonder, because I can't relate to the feeling, but the spin and angles and dealing with corners when you move from center field to left field, particularly Yankee Stadium's left field. I wonder how hard an adjustment that is, because he played very little left field in the minors. This year was the first year I think he's played any left field in pro ball. Maybe a couple spring training games. I think I remember last year spring training he got to left field once. But I wonder if the spin is really that crazy, or learning to deal with corners is really that crazy. Because I truly like. I didn't play in the big leagues. Not close. Even when I played in high school, I played infield. So again, not outfield experience. Like even on the very, very low level of like, I played a little varsity baseball.
I didn't. I was a junior on JV. Don't take my baseball advice.
I remember. I remember when they moved IKF to the outfield last year. He talked about how much easier learning center field was than the corners because of spin, and you don't have to worry about corners and
the balls don't hook as much. They won't tail and slice. It makes sense. I think what they should just do is put them in center, man. Put them in center. I mean, with what you're discussing right now, absolutely. I'm almost like more I talk about it. I think playing left field is harder in Yankee Stadium, and Judge can sure handle left.
You're still doing like a center fielder's workload as far as range in Yankee Stadium's left field. But
right. And it's center field, when it comes to the fly balls you're getting, it is, again, going back to the whole spin thing, they're much more routine fly balls. It's either like a routine fly ball that if you have any competency, you should be able to catch, or just an opportunity to show a massive display of athleticism where you got to sprint after a ball. And with that, Jasson, I think, will be fine. And also, when you're making a play that's very hard to make in the gap, like running the ball down, that's usually where yips go out the window. And I do think Jasson now has to be suffering from a little bit of yips. So I don't know. I think center field might be the way to go and just play Judge and left.
Yeah. Another, if this was MLB The Show, I would just put Judge in left field. That would be the easiest solution. It's going to be easier on his body than center field is, all that. But Judge, in the small sample we've seen, has looked vaguely uncomfortable out there, and they just haven't done it a lot.
Yeah,
so
true.
I sort of assume behind the scenes like Judge isn't crazy about it because they really haven't done it. But yeah, like center
he would
field.
Do it, though.
If that's what they had to do, I think he would do it. I think if they were to re-sign Soto, I feel like next year he can go with like, okay, well, this is what we're locked into. Like, if that's what we have to do to unlock this, and then I think he would do it. But like the intricacies of center field, I think are more where like the how hard is this, and you need to be the best defender you can come in. Like obviously the pure range factor is a thing, which I know isn't a problem for a Dominguez, but I think a lot of the problems in center field come more from range, and then like if you're over here's the cutoff man, this guy or this one or whatever, and like. I know sometimes it's a weird angle to like make a throw from it's weirdly like nobody ever makes an out at home from center field. This is it's a sneaky, very rare play.
Which is why I think having Judge's arm in center may even be less valuable, whereas having him in the corners. I remember having this conversation. I used to, when I was like 19, go crazy. Like, you should put Talkin in center, Hicks in left, because you need the stronger arms in the corners because they actually have a shot of getting guys out. You're right. Center field, you almost, there's no point a lot of the times, unless like a shallow sack fly.
Yeah, it's usually if there's like a play to make a throw on, they don't run. Like if it was MLB The Show, I would be doing that lineup, like no hesitation at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's weird that it feels like it's not an option.
Yeah, because he's going to pinch hit too. So what it's going to be would be like, okay, if Verdugo starts, Jasson comes in to pinch hit.
Yeah, you're still going to have his defense out there later in the game.
And they're not going to want to do that, so they're going to put somebody else in there. And if it's a late game close, then what are we doing? Like having Trent Grisham's bat in a playoff game? Like just what they got to do is play Jasson every single game the rest of this regular season, which is hilarious to say. There's only 4 more left. You should have had him up way earlier getting reps in the outfield. But I don't know. He's got to figure it out. Again, this is also on Jasson too. Like, you got to catch a fucking fly ball, dude. Like, I'm sorry.
The ball, especially the ball last night, you have to catch that.
Mm-hmm.
I was willing to just say the Seattle balls were like, I don't know, Seattle Stadium's weird. Randy didn't look comfortable either. But now it's a thing. And that's,
and I'm not saying again, that was probably a hard play to make last night to a degree in terms of
the ball spin.
In terms of routine plays, it's a harder routine play because you could kind of see like it was coming backwards. But it just, dude, the second, like I posted my reaction to it, and part of the freak out was obviously like the in-game implications, but I just knew once that ball dropped, it's like Verdugo starting game 1, bro. We'll see, though.
We'll see. I think time for the next call.
Yeah, no, our next caller also is playing a little MLB The Show with some infield construction.
Word.
Yo, what's up, Joez and BBD? It's Tom from New Jersey. My hot take, I think Oswaldo should be starting over Volpe in the playoffs. I respect Volpe and what he's been doing on defense, but the bat's just not there. You feel as though Oswaldo has a better bat and can easily play there defensively, and he's looked good of late compared to Volpe. What do you think? What do you think? Go Yanks.
So, thanks, bro. If you don't mind, Beats, I have a take on this. So, Volpe, no doubt about it, is going to be starting games 1 and game 2, probably game 3, and he should. Now, with that said, I very easily could see the scenario where come, say, elimination game in like, game 4, or just as the playoffs go deeper and deeper, say come ALCS, Volpe's not hitting, it's just looking not great. I definitely think they could start a different shortstop over him in an elimination game, and again, just as the playoffs go on. I don't think it'll be Oswaldo Cabrera, though. I think it could be John Birdie, especially against a righty, because Birdie hits righties well. I would not be shocked if that ends up happening, because we already seen them pinch hit for him the other day, which the idea of doing that, I'm for.
Mm-hmm.
But with the other speed you have on the bench, you could afford, because if you're going to have Grisham on the roster, you could afford to play Birdie in a starting spot. And as for Oswaldo Cabrera, I like the vibe of starting him. Like, I understand that idea. Like, Waldo's good.
He's been good, especially against righties as a lefty. He's
for sure.
He's been really good and really good lately.
But Waldo, his value does also very much come from being, by definition, a bench player, especially if you plan on making a lot of late game moves, pinch hitting and, the roulette of all that. Waldo is the guy that you have in your back pocket that basically allows you to make any single move because he can play all over the place. So I think if you were to go for somebody over Volpe to start, which again wouldn't happen, I think, till an elimination game if he's not hitting.
Yeah, he'd have to be not hitting at all.
Right. I would go with Birdie over Waldo. And that's something against Waldo, but just for the reasons I said. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Oswaldo, definitely, if they were like, he's a guy, and Boone said this much to us a couple weeks ago, talking about his usefulness, especially as right now the only backup first baseman. You have to, you wouldn't be able to pinch hit him, somebody for him at any point. What
do you mean? Because DJ LeMahieu is rehabbing.
Right now, DJ LeMahieu is still on the injured list, so
I'm just busted.
so I think he's unavailable.
It cracked me up when Boone the other day was saying he's like, yeah, DJ's starting to ramp up.
I'm really
Hope he's doing well.
curious. Yeah, because Tuesday night the series moves they did in an effort to tie the game when they pinch ran Oswaldo for Rizzo, which that move alone, fine, makes sense. Rizzo got on. You want a faster runner on. But they didn't. But they pinch run Oswaldo, which is fine. He's the one who's going to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still pinch. Then they pinch hit for Volpe, which was a surprise. Right. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And the guy they're pinch hitting for him is Dominguez.
That was dumb.
And I was really surprised, and I'm very curious if he homers there, what was going to happen next. Because then Verdugo, did Verdugo get up, or was Dominguez the last out?
No, it was
Verdugo came up, so they weren't going to pinch hit for him. I could have understood it if they were going to do what I think had to be John Birdie pinch hitting.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was. Dude, I was saying, and props to Rizzo, by the way, because if he's doing his thing with the defense and if he can work a walk like that, that's his offensive contribution, bat in eighth, W. Once he got on, that guaranteed Volpe and Verdugo were going to get at bats, barring a double play. To me, it was a no-brainer. And once I saw Volpe was getting pinch hit for, I'm like, all right, word, we're cooking here. I thought it was going to be Birdie. And then you go Jasson for Verdugo. I mean, it made all the sense in the world. And if you really wanted to, you could put Grisham in for defense in the ninth. I thought that's the way they were going to go. And yeah, you're right. Like, what would it have been if
that game just somehow gets tied?
that and like, whether it's a homer or he just extends the inning. Like, I mean, just trust Verdugo, which that's the thing so annoying about the Jasson thing, by the way. It's like, I feel like almost, like those Yankee fans that are so pessimistic that like sometimes they'll like celebrate when they lose in a weird way because it like proves
because
them
they
right.
were right.
I could almost see like, in a weird way, Brian Cashman like grinning when Jasson missed that ball yesterday, because it's like not as like forced their hand to play Verdugo. It allows them to play Verdugo.
It's like
this
is the easy talking point of like why we did it.
Yeah,
I really, really wonder what they would have done, because like Birdie has to come in. They've said as much as Oswaldo is the only backup first baseman right now, so I think he would have been locked into first. Volpe's out of the game.
Yeah, which by the way, let me speak on that really quick. No, I mentioned before how if you start Birdie, you do lose him off the bench, but it basically is interchangeable because then you would have Volpe on the bench if you were to start him. Start Birdie at short.
And Volpe, with the defense he's played and his speed, they're, as far as usefulness on the bench, that'd be the same role.
I did not factor that in. Yep, sorry, I kind of interrupted you.
No, you're good. I couldn't believe, if they're doing all this, I couldn't believe it wasn't Birdie pinch run for Rizzo, and then you can pinch it Dominguez for Volpe if you want, and then Oswaldo for Verdugo could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
The whole you could have done those in either order, and it would have been fine. And like it made sense.
Yo, what up, Jake?
I'd see the vision. I'd see what you're going for there. But like, what was it really gonna be? Like, because if they had tied the game, Verdugo was gonna stay in, because you're not at that point. You're not lifting him defensively. You're keeping his defense in the game. So does that mean Dominguez is just going to be done, and that's going to be Birdie's spot? Is that?
Here's a pessimistic side of me.
Somebody else coming out? Like, it would have to be that.
Jason's going to get one at bat a game at home in the playoffs. It'll be a pinch hit for Verdugo late, and then fingers crossed maybe starts on the road. Because again, going back to left field, Yankee Stadium, I'm sure that plays a slight role in their concerns over him. But then again, Camden Yards, we're playing there on the road. That's pretty big now too.
That's a big left field, Baltimore.
Yeah, as of the last 2 years. So.
Crazy. I don't know. That whole series of moves like really broke my brain and like kind of upset me. Like, because I'm just like I didn't see what the vision was supposed to be there.
Right. And you knew, like, you kind of had the vision in your head ahead of time, like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it was a little bit teased.
Like,
we saw Volpe get pinch hit. It's like, all right, it's happening. And then it was wrongly executed.
Yeah. And it's not getting Oswaldo an at-bat, which isn't the end of the world. Like, I'm happy to see Dominguez, but but they left Verdugo in. Like, Dominguez getting in, I'm excited about, but Verdugo was not coming out. I guess if he got a hit, they would have maybe, in that case, they'd have pinch run birdie, and that's your.
Who was
trio
pitching? Was it a lefty or a
lose.
righty?
It was Sir Anthony by the end. I
righty,
don't remember
right?
if the start of that sequence was Soto. Let me see.
Soto's a lefty, right? Sir Anthony's
Soto's a
righty.
lefty.
Yeah.
Soto walked Rizzo. Then they pinch hit Dominguez
Revolt.
for Volpe. At least in this order. But I feel like if they were leaving Soto in, they would have, as a lefty, they would have left Volpe in because they believe in the left-right. Sir Anthony came in and Dominguez batted. I'm guessing the ESPN order of operations is incorrect here, which sometimes it does flip those.
Yeah, ESPN's weird. Like they'll credit earned runs when they're not earned runs on their box score. I use that for all my stuff, and sometimes they're wrong.
Sometimes it takes a little bit to correct. It's interesting. It was a weird sequence, and I just had to bring it up when it came up. I don't know what they're gonna do as far as moving him. I would be shocked if they started Oswaldo over Volpe straight up in the playoffs to answer the caller's question. I don't even know if that's what I'd want. Because Volpe's defense is really good at short, better than what Oswaldo can do at short.
By far.
And Volpe, as much as he's struggled, and we've, for 2 years now, chronicled kind of every current feeling around Volpe at the plate. I don't think he's incapable of getting a hit any given moment. Obviously, there's times when he's looked
for sure
in a bad headspace. But
right, and it's not so bad to where if it was so bad, we'd be talking game one, you play somebody else. We need a new shortstop in general. I'm saying if it stays really bad, by game four,
if he started off 0 for 11, 6 Ks, and it's
right, and it's an elimination game,
no hard hit balls,
The frustrating thing with Volpe, and I don't usually like to comment on approach because again, junior and JV, I don't know shit. I comment on one thing that's usually effort and GM type talk and managerial talk, but his approach is so in between, man. I don't know exactly what he's looking to do. There's times it seems, all right, he's trying to have more plate discipline, work a walk. And then there's times I'm like, what exactly are you doing? It feels almost similar to where, remember IKF at bats where it's he's just taking two strike protect swings on no strike counts. But there's times I'm watching Volpe and I'm just like, you know what, dude? At least for one pitch, first pitch of the at bat, go back to 2022 or 2023 for a second. Because listen, the OPS is technically 10 points worse. He was a 666 then, and I think he's a 675 now.
Yeah, 20 bombs is 20 bombs or whatever.
Exactly. At least you had the possibility of him going deep. So, and I'm not really calling for that. I'm just more just saying I don't know what his approach is at the plate.
Right now, the approach. Right now, this moment, the approach doesn't feel like anything, and at least that was. I knew what he was going for. I didn't think, even if I didn't feel it was the best long-term sustainability approach, in a given moment, that at least can lead to some damage. And it feels like also of late he's had some times where it looks like he doesn't have a great grasp of the zone. Some of the pitches he takes are and the way he takes them, where he thinks they're super outside and they're clearly in on the outer half, and it's bizarre. He's been going through it. He has the lowest OPS versus right-handed pitching this month. He is 1 for 19 versus relievers this month. He has the lowest, which is the lowest batting average versus relievers. He has the lowest slugging percentage versus relievers. He's not really surviving at bats. He has the lowest on base percentage with 2 strikes.
Not great.
Him, Wells, and Jazz are kind of all slumping and just not slugging. They have Volpe has the 4th lowest slugging in the AL this month. Volpe has the 4th worst OPS in the AL this month. He's
been bad.
It's been bad of late, so I just don't know. I'm ready for the next hot streak. I liked when he opening up this half when he went back to the approach, all right, I'm just going to try to hit it hard and pull as many balls as possible, and at least leads to some results, and you can out-hit the expected numbers with that approach.
Right. He had a couple good games on the West Coast trip, didn't he? Played decently well.
He played really well in the
I thought that
series.
shit was... I thought that ball he hit to right was so gone, by the way. I think it was game 1 against Baltimore. Was that Volpe, I think?
So.
Maybe it may have been yesterday, actually.
I'm trying to remember.
It was yesterday because he had the RBI single, and he almost came through again with the 2-run shot. But anyways...
Like maybe I'm playing the results too much of this Baltimore series. He just had a great series. Maybe it is still the start of something, but
Well, here's what I'll to give Volpe a little bit of love. The offense obviously is bad, as you mentioned. The defense, I do want to say, that was the one point I agree with Boone on when you guys were going back and forth, which you guys are definitely winning that argument right now. But I do feel a lot, not you, but like other people will mention the defense with Volpe as kind of like not a throwaway, but just be like, the defense is great, but he sucks on offense. Which is true. He does suck on offense.
Like long term, we need more on offense, but it's great defense.
The defense is really good, and that is huge.
That makes him easily a starting level player.
Right, which
especially
I always say,
like
by default, Anthony Volpe is for the most part like a 3.5 or 4 player with the defense alone. Now, that doesn't justify like his progression as a player in development. Like he's got to be better compared to what we were told going in. Like I was talking to Jimmy the other day, and he was like, Volpe was an offense first player coming up. So I'm not justifying his trajectory so far.
Him and Glaber's prospect scouting reports were flipped.
Right.
I was reading some old Glaber scouting reports, and he was supposed to be like this glove first shortstop who just has the right offensive instincts.
Mm-hmm. But when it comes to this team, I can justify it for the fact of he's batting 8th. Actually, he's batting 9th.
Yeah,
if they play Jasson. If they play Jasson, he bats 9th, which is the domino effect of Jasson playing is also a benefit. But anyways, he's batting 9th. Doesn't give an excuse to be inept offensively, which again, that's what would lead to possibly him being sat down at some point. But with how good the defense is, he's batting 9th. And if he does get on, steals bases, obviously, he just can't be brutal in the playoffs this year, I think is kind of what I'm getting at.
No, he can't have like a disaster run.
Yeah, like you mentioned, if he goes over 11 6 Ks in the first 3 games, yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know how they'll handle it if it comes to that. I think my guess is the way they've handled him throughout. I'm guessing they will continue to start him every game, which I'm not like everything we've just said. I'm not entirely against because what else are you really gonna do? But I think they'll pinch hit Oswaldo, or if Dominguez is out, I think when Dominguez isn't starting, I think they view his bat as a weapon off the bench and a power threat and speed threat and all that. And like they could pinch hit either of them against a tough righty late in a game as well.
Right. I think the only way Waldo gets into a playoff game before coming, anyway, Waldo gets into a playoff game besides the defensive replacement as a pinch hitter, I think is a prediction as a pinch runner for Rizzo. Like I feel like he'll probably see Waldo directly pinch run. Did I say pinch hit? Did I say pinch hit, pinch runner for Rizzo? I think he'll be almost like they'll be like lockstep with each other in that.
Yeah,
they'll pinch run for Rizzo if he gets on late, and then obviously he's the first baseman to take over defensively.
Yeah, I think he'll be Rizzo's caddy for October. Rizzo gets on eighth inning or later. All right, Oswaldo, you go run. We'll keep Birdie for when it's extra innings or whatever, and fastest guy on the team. Yeah, go win a game.
Mm-hmm. You know who's got to get going real quick? Wells has got to start showing me a little something. And that's not me calling him out by any means. Just for me to feel good, I would like him to run into a couple homers before.
Totally fine for him to have a little slump, and he hit a few balls hard against Oakland, but his September has been bad. You get, and it's not our place to really speculate, but also that's what a podcast is. So I don't. You worry about the hand that got hit. Did that do anything? He's a catcher, and it's September 26th, so he is beat up. He just is a catcher. That's not even calling out a specific thing, but just hopefully he will really benefit from the break if they can take care of business and clinch that. Let's get him those 5 days off, and I'll feel real good about the lineup going in.
It's always a conversation, especially lately, with the Dodgers last year getting bounced. Is the bye actually an advantage? And I think there's a conversation to be had. I always wanted if you could guarantee you're coming out of the wild card series, let's say via sweep, which team would you rather be? The team with the momentum coming out of the wild card or the team that has the bye? But when it comes to the Yankees, they probably will really like that 5 days off. Just from that there, Austin Wells could sure use a break. Judge getting off his feet. Stan, I'm sure, is dealing with something somewhere. So to have those 5 days, that is going to be nice. And also
I think this team will
Cousins
benefit.
should be good.
Yeah. I think this team will
benefit. We have
benefit.
that clinched, obviously, right?
If they win the division, they have the bye. They've fully clinched that. Because they've clinched.
For some reason, I thought we already had clinched the bye, which could confuse me. So
they've clinched having a better record than Houston, which is so technically they clinched they clinched having home field in whatever their first round is before they clinched the division, which is just weird math. But
I guess they haven't clinched the top 2 seed because technically Baltimore can still catch them.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Once you clinch the top 2, you're guaranteed a bye.
Yeah, the second they clinch the division, they have clinched a top 2 seed as well.
Yeah. Which, another thing, if anybody's panicking about the division, and if we lose tonight, I can kind of understand it. If Baltimore loses 2 in their last 3 series, like if God forbid it got to that, like then we clinch the division too. Like they just had. If Baltimore loses in the, if we don't win tonight,
if they lose a game, like magic numbers 1.
Yeah, I can't stress about the division yet, but you do want to win tonight.
If they somehow lost the division, I'm worried about so many more things than that they didn't win the division.
I'll tell you what would have me shitting bricks tonight. If Cole got rocked by Baltimore.
Yeah.
That would have me like, and I'm not trying to put that out in the air because I actually am getting hyped up. This is a big start for Cole tonight. This is big. First of all, Cole versus Burns. But all of a sudden, it's kind of like a we need our ace moment.
Yeah, it's one of Boone's moments of truth for him. Where it's like, all right, this is a big game. We need this win. There's
coming off last week.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I was gonna say I know Dan's got a lot on his plate, so I didn't want to take too much more time. I have one quick one. You can answer even on like a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm down.
Word.
Yo, fellas, it's Grayson from Vermont calling back. Just checking in. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level in us going all the way this year? Because me, after that Boston series, it's about a 10. Let me hear it. Catch ya.
All right. Again, to be consistent here, I am a little bit less confident in a possible series against the Orioles. So I am going to take it down by 1 notch, but I'm going to answer this in 2 different ways, if you don't mind.
Please.
Getting to the World Series, 2 days ago I was a 10. Right now I'll give you a 9. Winning the World Series, and I kind of got to dig into the crapshoot 7-game series as baseball. I think it can happen because let's be honest, like by the time we do face the NL, more likely than not, if it's the Phillies, Dodgers, even the Padres, those teams could be favored over the Yankees. Like that'd be probably possibly the first series they're not favored in.
Yeah, those teams have like on paper a better roster right now.
Yeah, but then I can just think it's baseball, and Yankees are still a good team. I'll go confidence they're going to win it all. 6, but consider 6 like kind of high.
It's
6
really
to me
high.
is feeling deep. That's the highest I've probably been in since 2019. But I feel much better about this team than any team in the Judge era.
In the moment, I will feel really, really, really good. Like that day of. Besides the few stomach drops you get come those first playoff games, the level of confidence goes up once the games are finally here and in front of you, and you get yourself just hyped up. You can start playing some of those playoff songs we all like.
Bringing the stars, baby.
Yeah, they. But right now, couple injuries. I don't love the way this series has felt so far. This moment. Yeah,
the series is hurt. This series definitely has hurt.
The series just hurt the ego. It felt really good.
Yeah.
2 days ago, I was at
facts.
We're winning the AL. This is gonna be easy. Somebody will
Right.
even take care of Houston for us. Don't gotta worry about it. Maybe whatever. So, 2 days ago, I was like at a 10. So I'd say like an 8 coming out of the AL at this moment, and like 5 to win.
Right. Which, hey, it's the beauty of baseball, and I'm going to spin this optimistically.
I'll turn it back on.
The way I'm feeling right now, exactly. Like, they can go out tonight, and even though I said it's kind of already guaranteed to me that because of this series, I'm now going to be a little more worrisome going to a possible LDS against Baltimore. But, dude, the way baseball works, man, and this is proven by what we were just talking about, how good we felt and now how quickly bad we feel after, not bad, but worse. We win tonight, blowout, cold deals, looking good, clinch the division, champagne. We're right back. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to play well against Pittsburgh, which we'll be facing Paul Skeens on Saturday? I think it's Rodon versus Skeens.
I think that's the Saturday game this weekend.
Cannot wait for Rodon in the playoffs, by the way. Oh, my God.
Currently slated for heel Skeens Saturday.
Oh,
at least as
really?
Fangraphs has it listed.
Oh, let's go. Wow, you check the pitching matchups via Fangraphs.
They project out the next week of games. They're wrong
word.
sometimes and things pivot, but they at least will give an educated guess.
I still try to like use the MLB app any way that I can because I'm so off of it now. Where like standings, today's pitching matchup, I'll still like be like MLB. You've had my back for a long time. Talking about MLB at bat, of course. But word, dude, that'd be sick. Heel, outdoor Skeens. Let's go.
Yeah, rookie of the year
matchup.
They'll be good. Hopefully the game doesn't matter to us and it's just like a fun tune up and get to watch that and see some cool matchups. I think it's about time we get out of here. Thank you everybody for listening. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a review wherever you listen can interact. Hit whatever corresponding button that is if you want to be a part of the show. Moving forward, 908-845-5792. It's a show by you for you. Everybody tweet something nice at Joez. And yeah.
Get better, Sophia.
Get better.
Hit is high.
Voicemails.
Hit is far.
Voicemails.
Hit is gone.
Talking Yanks voicemail show.
Thanks, guys.
BBD and Joe.